3 reasons why investments can fail in Dubai. In today's video, I'm going to break down 3 reasons which I feel like need talking about when it comes to investing in Dubai. Because a lot of people come to me on a regular basis and they don't really know what's going on. I mean, I wouldn't too if I was in another country and I was just looking online. You don't really know what information to believe. You don't know anything about the city or the infrastructure. And hopefully this video can actually clear some of that up. What's going on, guys? My name is Joe Butler. As always, I am bringing you the most informative real estate content in the whole of Dubai. If you want to get in touch with me, you can book a call below, join my Telegram group, or join my mailing list where I will share very valuable information. Okay, I'm going to start with the first one, and it's overpaying for the property. Now, it's actually quite hard to know when you're overpaying for a property if you don't have basic market knowledge. And the way that you gather basic market knowledge is by just doing a little bit of research, looking into transactions, looking at the general area itself. You know, for example, if the average transaction is 1 million dirhams in one location, and then the property developer is selling it for 1.5, 1.6, or the individual is trying to sell it for that, which we do see a lot, you know, people overcharging for the properties, then it can get a little bit like, well, what's really left to be made, okay? And another way is to actually establish what the rental market is looking like in that area as well. Because at the end of the day, you're either buying a property to live in, or you're buying it for ROI or cash flow, or even if you want to flip a property, you know, you can still overpay. So number 1, you need to look at the transactional history of the location. Number 2, you need to look at the rental. And number 3, you need to see if the property is actually worth it and what's going to sort of happen in the area to actually establish if it is worth overpaying for. Okay, so occasions in which people overpay for properties is, well, let's say it's off plan, right? If you're very late to a launch, and phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 have sold out and you're now in phase 4, there's a good chance that you're paying the top end prices. You know, there are many examples of this from developers. You only have to sort of see when the project was launched and start to understand when it was actually marketed to actually seeing where it is now. And if they still have units left, maybe they're not the best units, but if they have some good units left, there's a good chance you're paying more than like 30-40% for them from when it launched, say 6 to 8 months ago. And if that is a case, and you are sort of faced with that decision whether to actually just go for it or not, my opinion would be just wait for another launch, you know, because there are a lot of launches in Dubai, you know. It's not like you miss out on this, you're not going to find something else. There's a good chance you're going to find something else in the future. Then another scenario is that maybe a launch is just generally overpriced. I mean, I've seen some buildings that are launching in places like downtown and 1 bedroom starting close to 3 million. And yes, it looks like a nice residences, but you know, if we look at the actual market conditions today, paying close to 3 million dirhams for a 1 bed, you should be getting something extra special, you know? You should be getting something potentially close to a beach or on the beachfront, you know, like Imar beachfront, for example, or, you know, buying in a very, very good branded residences. You know, we see some of the ones that are launching in the Dubai downtown district now. They're phenomenal. But if it's just a bang average building and they're just trying to charge that much, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes them a very long time to sell out. Now, of course, if you don't know that, that's when you come to a professional and you start to get them to understand it yourself. And actually, I'll help you with that. So I can eliminate that problem for you. Another example of overpaying is when a developer offers really good payment plans. There was a scenario where there was a launch in one area. I'm not going to say the developer's name, but they were offering cashback when the property was being developed. Now, I didn't quite get my head around that payment plan, but they were saying, we're going to give you 10% ROI every year for the 3 years the property is being completed. So they're going to give you 10% back of the actual value of the property for 3 years while it's under construction. So no one's going to be living there. They're just giving you money back. So I was like, well, that makes 0 sense. But I looked at the prices of the properties and it just made it clear to me that they're just overcharging for the properties. And in order to sell them, they're offering this ridiculous payment plan, which makes 0 sense in order to actually sell them. Now, of course, there's a lot of people that buy in them because they just think, well, if I get 10% of my money back, that's 30% over the year. But you've already paid 50, 60% over the property price that you should have, because it wasn't worth that in the first place. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a scenario which I personally had recently, where a client came to me. There was a cancellation in a building in downtown that was actually ready in 2025. Very nice branded residences. Now, the developer had a cancellation unit, but the cancellation unit was over 5.3 million dirhams for a 2-bedroom. And it was on the 6th floor, okay? Now, I just had to do a little bit of digging because if it's been launched for that long, there's a good chance people are reselling them. I said, give me 20 minutes. Now, in 20 minutes, I contacted a lot of brokers, a lot of people that I know, and I found 2 units One of them was facing the Burj Khalifa for 4.9 million, and then another one that was on the 20th floor for 4.1 million. So with my network and the capabilities I have to get good prices, I was actually able to find a resale way cheaper than buying directly from a developer. Now, of course, this case is only if the developer has already launched a property and it's at the very last phase and you're looking for maybe a cheaper property, then it's a good time to get a resale. But if you're getting in at the start of a launch, that's when it's best to buy. Number 2, a poorly selected unit. All right, I want to tell you about this now. If you go to a developer directly, there's a good chance they're going to try and sell you whatever's left, okay? Now, for me as a broker and someone who has genuine interest in my client's decision when it comes to investment, it's my reputation on the line. You know, I treat my client's money as if it's my own. I'll always do my research on finding the best unit within the development. I won't just buy something for the sake of it. Now, I'll give you an example of that. If you are buying on a low floor, which is absolutely fine because some people do prefer to live in low floors, then it must be facing or must be, you know, overlooking something at least half decent, you know, whether that's waterfront or whether that's a garden or whether it's a park or even looking onto the pool and amenities. It's a very nice unit still. You know, I used to live on a low floor and I really liked it. Now, if you are buying that's, you know, looking onto a busy road and you're on a low floor and you're in the middle of the city, there's a good chance you're going to be just hearing loads of traffic. It's not going to be a nice experience. Or there could be an empty plot of land which nobody knows what's going to be built there. But if you only have to do a bit of research, look on Google Maps, and if you know that your unit is facing north, and on the north of the map you can see a big empty plot of land, I guarantee you there's going to be a development at some point. Someone might tell you that it's only going to be a park or it's going to be grassy area or a car park. It doesn't matter. It's still a plot of land and there's a good chance it's going to get built on. And I wanted to actually share another example of this. A good friend and a client of mine, he actually came to me and we found a really nice development, okay? Now the unit itself was on the 5th floor, but I didn't know where it faced exactly, okay? So I actually drove down to the development and one side of the building faced the golf courses and I didn't quite know what the other side would face. So I went and drove to the development, I counted how many floors it was up, and I looked, and the view, a car park. A car park and then a building in front of it. And I said to him, forget it, don't do it. Although the unit was well priced, well sized, good project, I said to him, there's no way that we're going to spend money on this. Now, because if I was going to rent that unit out and my view was that, it was dark, it was shaded by buildings, I was looking onto a car park, I would definitely not go for it, you know? So that is something you need to consider. And the last one, location. This wasn't the first one because I've talked many times in my videos about location. The thing is with Dubai, you know, there's a lot of new locations popping up everywhere and I think it's amazing. For example, Dubai South. I've got so much confidence in that area, but right now it's still considered kind of out the way, just like a lot of other areas. And, you know, it doesn't seem like at the moment that there's a lot going on in that area, but you know, in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, it's going to be absolutely booming. So that would be a good example of something that's still out of the way, but it's got a massive future potential. Whereas some locations that are sort of out in the desert and you don't really know anything about them, this might just be, you know, an apartment block within somewhere in Dubai land, for example. There's just an individual building getting built on its own with nothing around it. I would only have to drive there. You'd only have to look on Google Maps to really understand that this area doesn't offer anything. And then at that point, you'd probably realize that this might not be a good investment. And again, I'm not saying that's the way that you would look on Google Maps and then determine if there's anything around, because if you look on Google Maps of Dubai, it's mainly just sand, right? But, you know, the main thing that you need to understand is that Dubai's infrastructure is changing. And if the area that you're purchasing in does not have any future potential for infrastructure change, you know, there's not any metros that have been proposed to go that side, or, you know, there's not going to be some sort of communities, parks, schools, you know, restaurants, all those kinds of things being built, then it might not be a good location. And especially if people can't get things like Deliveroos, Insta shops, whatever apps we use to get things delivered, if all those things don't exist, I wouldn't live there. And I guarantee you a lot of other people won't live there either. Okay, so these are 3 things that you need to look out for when you're making an investment in Dubai, and they could potentially lead to a failed investment. But I can eliminate that problem. Come work with me. Let's find you a good investment, and let's jump on a call and discuss how we can make you a profitable investment in this Dubai market. Thank you for watching.